Fantastic. Hello there, Master Hellish here, and welcome back to my Minecraft Redstone tutorial series. Now, this series builds on itself, so I highly recommend you check out the link to the playlist in the description. But today, we're going to continue on with some inputs. And we're going to go past the pressure plates from last episode and drop ourselves in at this. Today, we are looking at the daylight sensor. There's one there. So here's a daylight sensor in an item frame, and this is how you craft it in the crafting grid. Let's pick up some materials and quickly do that. So let's pop in our slabs. Okay, wooden slabs can be any slabs, wood, they can be oak, birch, any of them. The glass, however, does have to be glass blocks. It cannot be glass panes. And there is some nether quartz. A row of each gets you your daylight sensor. And of course, you can just put that on the ground by right clicking. Doesn't really go on walls properly. It stays in the same orientation, even though you can kind of place it on walls. And technically you can place it on ceilings, but it leaves this gap between. Okie dokie, let's move on. What does the daylight sensor do? Well, the daylight sensor outputs a signal, and you can see here it is doing that now. And the signal that it outputs depends on the time of day and the amount of light falling upon it. So you can see here that it says midday 15 meters. So this has a signal strength of 15. Now there's that word signal strength again. We've been looking at that in some parts throughout the episodes that have gone by, and this is really one of the main episodes where we learn a little bit more about signal strength. Here is the signal strength coming out at 15, as we've seen with many of the inputs before, but this one has a variable signal strength depending on different things. We did look at variable signal strengths when we looked at pressure plates as well. If we change the time of day, so if we set the day to sunrise, you can see here that we have a signal strength of 7. Okay, we come up to here, that's a signal strength of 7 for sunrise, so there's a good deal of light falling on this sensor still. If we change the time of day here, you can see it's part way between sunrise and part way between midday. It's kind of part way there, and here we go, the signal is now gone part way as well. We're 2 blocks off midday. And if we would just click the midday button again, you can see the sun is high in the sky and we're back up to a signal strength of 15. So, what happens if we go in night time? Well, at night time there is no light, no daylight falling on this sensor at all. The signal is 0, and pretty much most of the way through the night it is 0. Now, there's a couple of other things to note with this. Let's just choose that button and get rid of the mobs. There we go. So, there's a few things to note with this, is that putting a block above it like that to try and block the light will not make a difference. Okay, it can just kind of go straight through. It's just the light that is about. Okay, you cannot kind of block it off with light. It just works anyway, whether it's got a line of sight or not. Another thing to note is if it's raining, there is less light, so the signal strength is less. And if it's thunder and raining, the signal strength is a little bit less, even more so. But there's another feature to our daylight sensor. If we place a daylight sensor down and right click on it, it turns blue like this kind of dark bluey colour. This is now a nighttime sensor, and it will stay like that until you break it. Okay, when you do break one, it does give you a daylight sensor in survival, and here is one. Okay, so just to go over that again, you place down your daylight sensor, right click on it, and it turns into a nighttime sensor. And you can see here, because there is light all about us, this isn't outputting a signal at all. However, if we go to nighttime, there we are, nighttime, you can see that this is now outputting a good deal of signal. And again, the signal varies throughout the night until daylight once again comes and the signal reduces to 0. This here is something to remember from old versions of Minecraft. We are currently in Minecraft 1.9, and in versions 1.8 and earlier, the daylight sensor used to have, oh hello lads, it used to have another feature when it was completely encased in a room. Okay, so when it had no access at all, like this one down here. Okay, so if we come in here with these blokes, hi guys, and encase ourselves, the daylight sensor used to have a different function. This is no longer in the game. Okay, Mojang decided that that feature was probably not really used very often, and people really wanted to use the daylight sensor like these two. So that's no longer in the game, but it's worth a note because it's only just changed at the time of recording. And that is pretty much it. We've got one more thing to look at with the daylight sensor, and it's just all the way down over here. And this is it. This is the pattern of which the daylight sensor does. It weakly powers every single adjacent block. Okay, so let's just test that. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to put a block under it. Now, for most signals, most inputs, you will get strongly powered blocks, but you can see these lamps are not being powered by the daylight sensor, even though this daylight sensor is emitting a signal. It's just not doing it. It's not having it at all. Okay, the daylight sensor does not strongly power anything. It only weakly powers in all directions. Something important to remember about the daylight sensor. And that's it. That's all we're going to be looking at for now. Join me next time when we'll be looking at more things, more inputs and other bits and bobs. And soon we will be going on to outputs. That's where the fun really begins, I think. So, thank you very much for watching. Any thoughts, ideas or questions down in the comments, and if you want to play around with these, of course, the world download link is in the description of the video as well. But that's all from me for now. Take care and goodbye.